Welcome to my schouw. This is the intro to my schouw. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to my schouw video. I'll first talk a little bit about my works and then a bit about how things have gone these past few months. So these months I have been making some stuff I really like and also some stuff I really don't care that much for, and some stuff that I just sort of made to just be making something. So, index. These are the projects I'm going to be talking about. First, plant personality for the theme of escapism. Then, not everything will work out, but that's okay for the theme of frustration. On the ground, a love song to asphalt repair for the theme of activism. And then the Unity sound objects for sound design. Cursor life for fundamentals. So the first one, plant personality. I did this one for escapism. It was also a little bit about solitude. So in the week of solitude, I went to the postbank to document, make some drawings, stuff like that. And while sitting there, I thought about how in a forest all of the plants and the trees are connected through a network of different fungi species in the ground. They actually communicate through that. So the postcard I made for the first assignment with Dan actually was about that as well. And I was thinking about how plants might sound if they would communicate through sound. So I made a bunch of sounds, imagining just that. And I combined them with a bunch of videos I made at the postbank to sort of imagine what would be going on under the ground, sound wise and visually, maybe as well. Next up is not everything will work out, but that's okay. This one was for the theme of frustration. So I picked up this one later in the semester because it still seemed really interesting to me. And at the week of the actual theme, I wasn't able to work really. So I first wrote down as many frustrations as I could think of, and then I found a lot of them were kind of centered around things I don't really like about myself and boiled down to me being undisciplined or distracted easily or overthinking about things. So I had some time pressure actually on this project because I started really late, and I was reminded of Edison, who invented the light bulb after like a frustrated fit. So I tried to maybe frustrate myself to maybe trigger a similar reaction to get productive. So I recorded all of the frustrations and I repeated all of them for 1 minute. So I basically listened to maybe frustrate myself or evoke some kind of reaction. It didn't actually really frustrate me, but it just bored me very much and made me super tired, which I found interesting because I sort of wasn't sleeping well when I was working on it. But actually, intentionally boring myself made me super calm and like actually sleepy. And in the end, I wanted to focus a little bit more on my facial expressions and this feeling of like boredom, which is sort of frustration in itself, but also calmed. So I focused the video on my face and I added the descending shepherd tone, which is super creepy and frustrating and unsettling to some people, but it's also really calming and meditative to other people. Next up is On the Ground, a love song to asphalt repair. So this project has a pretty long process because I worked on it for about 3 weeks and at some point I really didn't know what to do with it. My starting point was the documentary The Unconscious Art of Graffiti Removal, um, in which they look at graffiti removal as a form of art, which can be seen as a sort of activism. And I looked for something similar, and I kind of stumbled upon these asphalt repairs, which were super fascinating to me because they sort of look like writing and they sort of look semi-intentional. So, as an activistic act, I wanted to kind of recontextualize these repairs into art to make people maybe see how pretty they are and hopefully make people realize there's a lot more beauty in the world they might not notice right away. So I traced some of the lines in Photoshop and I made some poems with them, but at that point I really didn't know where to go from there. And I also realized that the work had really become more about my relationship with the repairs than it was about me telling people about the repairs. So I made a sort of a love song to the asphalt repair. And maybe in the end that will actually make people realize how nice these things are. So next up is the Unity sound objects. This one is one I really enjoyed working on. It was super fun to me to make like crazy, surrealistic kind of environments for my sounds. Um, so I have a lot of experience with Ableton, which makes it super easy for me to kind of make a sound that's in my head. But that's sort of a one-on-one thing, so it's closes some experimentation off for me. But working with sound in a kind of a spatial sense or a spatial mindset kind of changed that up for me, and also making the actual Unity objects like made it super interesting to me. Then next is Cursor Live, which is an animation I made for Rolf's class. And I'm just super happy with the result. I never made a stop motion animation before, so I really wanted to do that. And I drew these things out, and I just made an animation about how a cursor would feel if it was an actual person, and what it would be like for the cursor to cross the gap from one monitor to another monitor. So that's kind of the projects I wanted to talk about. In conclusion, these months have been super hectic, and for a long while I was just really scared to kind of fall off like I did the last semester of last year. And some weeks really have been like that actually, where I just really couldn't do anything and I was super demotivated. But I actually, yeah, I managed to pull through pretty well, I guess, and I'm super happy with that. And I feel like I've learned to really make decisions better instead of just lingering and thinking about stuff for too long. Yeah, so staying motivated has been pretty hard for me, and it kind of felt just like something we had to kind of get through, and then we could go back to normal again. So some of the projects I did feel kind of half-assed to me, but yeah. But still, I'm really happy I finished everything up, and I was able to keep up mostly. And some of the stuff I made, I'm actually pretty proud of, which is really not a given for me. So I think I have learned a lot in this quarantine semester, and I hope to see everyone back at school pretty soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for looking at my schouw. I hope I get all my study points.